The text message from my sister Lauren arrived at 2:47 p.m. on Friday afternoon while I was reviewing quarterly reports in my corner office overlooking downtown Portland. The message was characteristically direct and brutal in the way only siblings can manage. Don't come to Mom's 60th birthday party tomorrow. You'll ruin the photos and the whole aesthetic I've worked so hard to create. This is supposed to be elegant and sophisticated, not a charity case gathering. Hope you understand. I stared at the message for a moment, sitting in my ergonomic chair surrounded by the floor-to-ceiling windows that offered a panoramic view of the city skyline. The irony wasn't lost on me, but it wasn't surprising either. For the past 5 years since I'd left my corporate consulting job to start what my family called playing with nonprofits, I'd been systematically excluded from major family events. I typed back a simple response, understood. Lauren had been planning Mom's 60th birthday celebration for 3 months, treating it like a social media campaign designed to showcase her event planning skills and our family's supposed success. She'd chosen the ballroom at the Riverside Hotel, hired a string quartet, arranged for professional photography, and created a guest list that read like a who's who of Portland's social elite. And apparently I didn't fit the image she wanted to project. This wasn't entirely surprising. Ever since I'd founded what Lauren dismissively called some little charity thing, I'd been treated like the family member who'd lost their way. My modest apartment, 10-year-old Subaru, and preference for thrift store clothes had become sources of family embarrassment rather than personal choices. What my family didn't understand, what I'd stopped trying to explain 3 years ago, was that Cascade Foundation wasn't some little charity thing. It was a $340 million philanthropic organization that had distributed grants to over 2,000 nonprofits across the Pacific Northwest, funded educational programs serving 50,000 low-income students annually, and established healthcare clinics in 12 underserved communities. But my family saw the modest lifestyle and assumed failure. I returned to my quarterly reports, which showed that Cascade Foundation had achieved a 23% increase in grant distribution efficiency and had successfully launched 4 major initiatives addressing homelessness, education inequality, food insecurity, and healthcare access in rural communities. The foundation's endowment had grown to $340 million through a combination of strategic investments and major donor development, making it one of the largest private foundations in the Pacific Northwest. At 4:47 p.m. my assistant knocked on my door. "Ms. Rodriguez, there's a call from Riverside Hotel's catering department. They say it's urgent." "I'm not catering any events," I said, puzzled. "They asked specifically for the account holder for the Rodriguez family celebration tomorrow." That got my attention. I'd been financially supporting my family's major events for years, though they'd never acknowledged it. My parents assumed the money came from some combination of family members pooling resources, never realizing that their failed daughter was quietly covering the costs of every birthday party, holiday celebration, and family vacation they'd enjoyed over the past 5 years. "Transfer the call," I said. "Ms. Rodriguez," the catering manager's voice was professionally concerned. "This is Janet Mills from Riverside Hotel Catering. We have a problem with tomorrow's event payment." "What kind of problem?" "The credit card on file has been declined, and when we called the backup payment method, we were told the account holder had canceled authorization for the event charges." I was quiet for a moment. When I'd set up the payment arrangements for Mom's party 3 months ago, I'd used Cascade Foundation's event management account, which Lauren and my parents assumed belonged to one of their friends or extended family members who'd volunteered to help with expenses. "Ms. Mills," I said carefully, "what was the total amount for the event?" $15,000 for the ballroom rental, catering for 80 guests, string quartet, floral arrangements, and professional photography. Ms. Lauren Rodriguez has been coordinating the details, but you're listed as the primary account holder and financial guarantor. And the payment was declined? Yes, ma'am. About 30 minutes ago. We need to resolve this by 6 p.m. today or we'll have to cancel the event. I looked out at the city skyline, thinking about Mom's excitement for her 60th birthday party, the 80 guests who'd been invited, and Lauren's 3 months of planning. Then I thought about Lauren's text message telling me not to come because I'd ruin the photos. "Ms. Mills, please cancel all payment authorizations for the Rodriguez family event." "Cancel the authorizations?" "Yes. Remove all payment methods and cancel the event booking." "Ma'am, are you certain? This is a significant event scheduled for tomorrow evening." "I'm certain. Please send confirmation of the cancellation to this number." After ending the call, I returned to my quarterly reports. Cascade Foundation had a board meeting next week where we'd be approving $2.8 million in new grants for homeless services, educational programs, and rural healthcare initiatives. The work was demanding but fulfilling in ways my family had never understood. At 5:23 p.m., my phone started buzzing with calls from Lauren. I let them go to voicemail. At 5:31 p.m., Lauren called again. Then again at 5:34 p.m. At 5:38 p.m. she left her first voicemail. Call me back immediately. There's some kind of problem with Mom's party payment. At 5:42 p.m. the second voicemail. This isn't funny. The caterer says the payment was cancelled. Who would cancel Mom's birthday party payment? At 5:47 p.m. the third voicemail with panic creeping into her voice. The hotel says they're going to cancel everything if we don't resolve the payment by 6 p.m. I need to know who was supposed to pay for this. At 5:52 p.m., my phone rang with a call from Mom. Sweetheart. Mom's voice was strained with worry. Lauren says there's some confusion about tomorrow's party payment. Do you know anything about this? What kind of confusion, Mom? The hotel says the payment was cancelled, but none of us cancelled anything. Lauren's been calling everyone in the family trying to figure out who was supposed to pay. Maybe there was a miscommunication about who was handling the finances, I suggested. But honey, this is catastrophic. 80 people are expecting to celebrate my birthday tomorrow night. The hotel, the caterer, the musicians, everything's been arranged. If we can't resolve this payment issue, we'll have to cancel everything. That would be terrible, I agreed. Lauren is beside herself. She's been planning this for months, and now she's scrambling to find $15,000 to save the party. $15,000 that I had been prepared to pay, just like I'd paid for Dad's 55th birthday, Lauren's graduate school graduation party, and the family vacation to Hawaii last Christmas. Mom, I'm sure Lauren will figure something out. I hope so. I just don't understand how this could happen. At 5:58 p.m., with 2 minutes before the hotel's deadline, Lauren called me directly. Answer your phone, she said when I picked up. I've been trying to reach you for an hour. I was in meetings, I said. What's wrong? What's wrong? Her voice was pitched high with hysteria. Mom's birthday party is going to be cancelled because someone cancelled the payment authorization. 80 people, 3 months of planning, and now I have 2 minutes to come up with $15,000 or everything's ruined. That's terrible. How did this happen? I don't know. The hotel says the account holder cancelled the authorization, but I don't even know who the account holder was. Some family friend offered to help with costs months ago, and now they've apparently changed their mind. I was quiet, letting her continue. I've called everyone, Dad, Uncle Miguel, Aunt Carmen, all the cousins. Nobody knows who is paying for this, and nobody has $15,000 available on immediate notice. What are you going to do? I don't know, she screamed into the phone. This is a disaster. Mom's going to be humiliated when we have to call 80 people and tell them her party is cancelled. All because someone decided to cancel their financial support without telling anyone. Lauren, who did you think was paying for a $15,000 party? There was a pause. Some family friend. I assumed Dad had arranged something, or maybe Uncle Miguel's business contacts offered to help. These kinds of events require financial resources, and obviously our family doesn't have that kind of money available. Obviously, I said. Unless. Lauren's voice trailed off as a thought occurred to her. Unless what? Unless you know something about this payment situation. Another pause. Kate, you weren't, oh my God. The realization was dawning in her voice like sunrise breaking through storm clouds. Kate, were you paying for Mom's party? Why would you think that? Because you're the only family member I haven't called, and you're the only one who didn't seem surprised about this payment cancellation. I didn't respond. Kate, answer me. Were you the account holder who cancelled the payment authorization? Lauren, you told me not to come to the party because I'd ruin the photos and the aesthetic. Oh my God. Her voice came out as a whisper. Oh my God, you were paying for everything. I was. But how? You work for some nonprofit. You live in that tiny apartment. You drive a car that's older than my college degree. I work for Cascade Foundation. Right, some little charity. She stopped mid-sentence. Wait, Cascade Foundation? Yes. Kate, Cascade Foundation is. I've seen their name on buildings around the city. They fund major programs. Yes. You work for them? I founded them. I'm the executive director and president of the board. The silence on Lauren's end stretched for nearly 30 seconds. Kate, Cascade Foundation has hundreds of millions of dollars. $340 million in endowment assets, yes. And you run it? I founded it 5 years ago when I left corporate consulting. We've distributed over $50 million in grants to date. But you said you worked for a nonprofit. You never said you ran a major foundation. I tried to tell you about Cascade Foundation. Every time I mentioned our grant programs or community initiatives, someone said I was playing with charity work, or wasting my business education on do-gooder nonsense. But Kate, if you run a $340 million foundation, why do you live so modestly? Because I believe in using resources to solve problems rather than displaying wealth. Every dollar I spend on luxury items is a dollar not going to programs that feed hungry families or provide healthcare to people who can't afford it. Lauren was quiet for a long moment. Kate, you've been paying for our family events for years, haven't you? Dad's birthday party, your graduation celebration, the family vacation, Christmas dinners at the restaurant. Yes. While we treated you like the unsuccessful family member. While you focused on appearances and assumed that modest living meant financial failure. Kate, I'm so sorry. I had no idea. You had no idea because you never asked. You saw my apartment and my car and my clothes and decided I was struggling financially. But why didn't you correct us? I thought about how to answer that question while looking out at the city skyline, where several buildings bore plaques acknowledging Cascade Foundation grants for community programs. Because I wanted to know that my family loved and accepted me regardless of my bank account, I said. If I'd led with, I run a $340 million foundation, would your affection have been genuine or motivated by financial interest? Kate, we've been horrible to you. You've been focused on appearances and conventional markers of success. That's different from being horrible. No, it's not different. I literally told you not to come to Mom's birthday party because you'd ruin the aesthetic. Yes, you did. While you were paying for the entire party. Yes, I was. Lauren started crying. Kate, what can I do? How can I fix this? What do you want to fix? Everything. Our treatment of you, Mom's party, the way we've dismissed your work. I looked at my watch. 6:04 p.m. The hotel's payment deadline had passed. Lauren, the payment deadline has passed. Mom's party has been cancelled. Would you consider reinstating the payment? I know I don't deserve it, but Mom doesn't deserve to suffer because of my behavior. What would change if I reinstated the payment? What do you mean? I mean, would anything actually change about how the family treats me, or would everyone just be more careful about their criticism until the next time they needed financial support? Lauren was quiet for a long time. Kate, I can't promise that everyone will change immediately. But I can promise that I understand now how badly we've misjudged you. And Mom's party? Mom's party should include you. Not because you're paying for it, but because you're Mom's daughter and you should be celebrating with us. Even if I ruin the aesthetic? Especially if you ruin the aesthetic. I've been more concerned about Instagram photos than about family relationships. I made a decision. Lauren, call the hotel. Tell them the payment authorization has been reinstated. Really? Yes. But I want to make something clear. Anything. This is the last family event I'll pay for without acknowledgement. If the family wants me to continue supporting these celebrations, then the family needs to acknowledge that support and include me in the planning. Absolutely. Kate, can I ask you something else? What? Would you be willing to help me understand what you actually do at Cascade Foundation? I want to know about your work, not because you're paying for things, but because I realized I don't know anything about my sister's career. I'd like that. The next evening, I attended Mom's 60th birthday party at the Riverside Hotel ballroom. I wore a simple black dress from my closet and arrived in my 10-year-old Subaru, just like always. But for the first time in years, Lauren introduced me to guests as my sister Kate, who runs Cascade Foundation and does incredible work in our community. During the toasts, Dad raised his glass and said, "To my wife of 40 years who taught our children the importance of giving back to others. And special thanks to our daughter Kate, whose generosity made tonight possible." It wasn't perfect and I knew that changing family dynamics would take time. But it was a start. After the party, as we stood in the hotel parking lot saying goodbye to guests, Mom pulled me aside. "Kate, Lauren told me about Cascade Foundation. About what you've built and what you do. I should have explained it better years ago." "No, honey. We should have asked better questions and listened more carefully to your answers. Mom, I'm just glad we can move forward. Kate, I want to ask you something and I want you to be honest with me. Of course. Are you happy? With your work, your choices, the life you've built? I thought about the question while looking back at the hotel ballroom, where the cleanup crew was breaking down the tables and packing up the flowers. 80 people had celebrated Mom's milestone birthday because I'd chosen to reinstate the payment authorization despite Lauren's hurtful text message. Mom, I wake up every morning knowing that the Foundation's work is helping solve problems that affect thousands of people, I said. We're funding programs that feed hungry families, provide healthcare to people who can't afford it, and give educational opportunities to children who wouldn't have them otherwise. That sounds meaningful. It is. The financial success enables the Foundation to do bigger projects and help more people. But the real satisfaction comes from knowing that the work makes a difference in people's lives. And you don't mind living more modestly than you could afford? I don't mind at all. My apartment meets my needs, my car is reliable, and my clothes are comfortable. I'd rather use Foundation resources to fund a new homeless shelter than buy a luxury car I don't need. Mom hugged me tightly. I'm proud of you, Kate. Not because you paid for tonight's party, but because you've found work that matters to you and you've built something that helps other people. Thank you, Mom. That means everything to me. 6 months later, our family dynamics had shifted significantly. Lauren had started volunteering with one of Cascade Foundation's education programs and was learning about nonprofit work firsthand. Dad had begun referring potential major donors to the Foundation. Mom had joined our volunteer advisory committee. Most importantly, when planning family events, I was included from the beginning, not as the anonymous financial backer, but as a family member whose presence was wanted and whose input was valued. At Easter dinner that spring, Lauren raised her wine glass for a toast. To family, she said, and to learning that the most important contributions aren't always the most visible ones. To Kate, Dad added, who taught us that success comes in many different forms. As we clinked glasses, I reflected on how much had changed since that Friday afternoon text message telling me not to come to Mom's party. Sometimes families need to learn the hard way that the quietest member might be the one holding everything together. And sometimes, if you're patient enough and committed enough, they eventually figure out that the person they've been dismissing is actually the person making their celebrations possible. The most meaningful recognition doesn't come from foundation boards or community awards. It comes from families who finally understand that love and support should never depend on appearances or conventional measures of success. And it comes from knowing that your work, whether visible or invisible, makes a difference in the lives of people who matter to you. A year later, when we planned Mom's 61st birthday party, Lauren and I worked together on every detail. Not because I was paying for it, but because she wanted her sister's input on celebrating our mother. The party was smaller, less expensive, and infinitely more meaningful because it was planned by family members who finally understood each other. Sometimes the best parties are the ones where everyone's invited, everyone contributes, and everyone understands that the real celebration isn't the event itself. It's the relationships that make the event worth having.